now be recorded.
Hello and good afternoon.
Your voice is not. I am not hearing.
Rishikesh sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
How many participants are there?
Is it audible now?
Yes,
It is.
I can hear you.
Yes, it is.
No voice again.
Again, no voice. You're out of network, I think.
How many participants are there at present?
At present, sir, there are
Because I cannot see it.
18 participants are there.
Okay, because I am not able to.
Hello,
see it.
is it audible now? Now it is audible. Now it is audible. Sir, should we start?
Yes, I am ready.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I, on behalf of Shreyas E-Learning Academy, welcome you again to this next session of our unique Arsha Seminar 2021. It is our privilege and honor to have a guest speaker of his stature, Dr. Harshavardhan Jobanputra sir, as our guest speaker today. He is a very big name in the field of anorectal practices in Ayurveda. Sir has completed his graduation from Akhanda Ananda Ayurved Mahavidyalaya, Ahmedabad in 1980. Sir is a postgraduate from IOGTR and A Jamnagar 1984. Sir is an ex-professor from JS Ayurved Mahavidyalaya, Nadiad. He is also the founder of Sushrut Ayurved Academy Nadiad, SAAN, where he trained 40 students from different parts of India and Nepal. Sir is also on the advisory board of Sushrut Proctology Association. He is also a recognized guru at RAV Rashtriya Ayurved Vidyapit, Delhi. Sir has been awarded as the Best Teacher Award by National Sushruta Association as well. Sir is the ex-member for the Board of Education, Gujarat Ayurved University. 9 lecture series on fistula in ano, a unique concept from him on every year at Proctocon conferences held. He is also a resources person for ROTP and delivered expert lecture on proctology at Nanded, Himachal Pradesh, Ahmedabad and Jamnagar as well. Sir has a vast experience and is the founder of Sushruta Hospital Nadiad as well, where he is working very profoundly. He is a very nice teacher. It was a privilege of hearing him in many seminars as well. Sir is a guest speaker on many national and international platforms as well. He has conducted many surgeries and is an active part of conservative and both invasive management in the management of anorectal disorders in Ayurveda. I'll request Dr. Jobanputra sir to kindly start his lecture, a unique lecture today of the clinical presentation of Arsha and their treatment protocols. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. It is my pleasure that I am with you all. Again, it is my pleasure to share my knowledge with Ayurvedic persons, so I can get more and more knowledges again and again by the questions asked by the participants. So I will start immediately with my topic with saying Happy Independence Day to all of you. My topic is clinical cases of Arsha with treatment protocols. Here, before starting on the subject, let us have a prayer. I have given the meaning. This is the prayer which should be sung by students and by the Guru simultaneously at a time. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu सहवीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति शांति शांति. What happens during our academic career or academic educational life? As soon as we start to learn, our confidence level is always high. When we know something, yes, our confidence level is so much high that we will say, oh, I know everything. But as soon as we start learning more and more, our confidence level goes down and down. Then there is more to, we think that there is more to this than I thought. Something more, I have to learn it, it means. Again, learning that topics or that subjects or that expertness, again our confidence levels goes down. Oh, I am never going to understand this. You have seen, you might have heard many gurus that what we have in knowledge, it is a drop of the ocean. So this is the, I have never going to understand this. But after being a mature, when you learn something repeatedly, when you share your knowledge with others, now your confidence level again goes up. Now you start making sense. Yes, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. Later on, your confidence goes again up. That is, trust me, it is, but we will say that, trust me, it is complicated. We will never say, I know everything. So this phenomena was clarified by the Dunning and Kruger. They are both philosophers. So this phenomena is termed as the Dunning-Kruger's effect. It is always with everybody. It was with me also. So in early stage we say this is right and this is wrong. One should not do this. One should do only this thing. As soon as we grow more, we learn higher and higher, then we say, yes, you can do this, but I will like to do this. This is the same phenomena which we are feeling day by day or every day in our life. So let us start with our topic. So keeping this last slide point in mind, we will revise something again. What is Arsha? Arsha, according to Ayurveda, Arsha is a disease which can be presented in many parts of the body. It may be the penile area, it may be the vaginal area, it may be the nose, ear, eyelid, kantha, etc. But for practical treatment purpose, Gudavalijanam to Arshansi Tantre Sangya. Charak says this. We will label the Arsh, plain Arsh name. Otherwise it will be Nasars, it will be Karnas, it will be Vartmans, like that. When we say Arsh only, then it is a Guda Arsha. That is a Guda Valijanam to Arshansi. What is Guda? Tatra Sthulantra Pratibaddham Ardha Panchangulam. The last part of the GI tract, which is measuring Pratibaddham Ardha Panchangulam, that is a 4.5 finger of individuals, that is known as Guda. If you will measure your fingers on a scale, almost it will about 8 centimeters. So Sardha Panchangulam is almost near to 8 centimeters. If you go to the anatomy, through the anatomy of the modern rectum and anal canal, the anal canal is about 3.5 centimeter. And then anorectal ring, and from anorectal ring, rectum starts. So Ayurveda terminology of Gud is, we can understand it is a whole anal canal as well as some part of the rectum. So any disease occurring in this area can be having some more symptoms, can be termed as Arsh. So what are the clinical Pratyatma Lakshan of Arsh? Clinical features. If either of one or all three, then we can say that is Arsh. One is Arivat Pranino Vishansantiyat, which is a painful condition in the Guda, then it may be a disease of Arsh. Second is mansa kilikaha. If you can see any growth at that area, that is a 4.5 finger, 8 centimeter area, that is a Gudavali mansa praroha, then it will be termed as urs. And last symptom, this all pain and growth may contribute to Guda Marga Nirodha. Arshasi tasmad uchyante Guda Marga Nirodhatah. They will lead some obstruction feeling. That patient will say, it is difficult to pass the stool. Again, this is the third pratyatma lakshana of Arsh. So either 1, 2 or 3. If we get it, we should examine the patient. If we see the manskilaka, then it is always Arsh. If we cannot see the manskilak or mansa praroho, then it may be Arsha, it may be Arsha Purvarup, or maybe another disease. We have to differentiate it by proctoscopic examination or etc. So, this is the short understanding of Arsh. Because we want to understand the management and protocol of the Arsh, we should know what is the meaning of Arsh. So, Arsh, what we can consider as Arsh, according to this definition, most common pathology, always we say it is piles, that is an internal hemorrhoids. This is 100% we can say it is Arsha. External piles, which can be of different pathologies. It may be external thrombus pile, it may be a skin tag, it may be a papilla protruding or sentinel piles due to the fissure, acute fissure or healed, acute on chronic fissure or healed fissure. So all this can be termed as external piles. One, we can add condyloma, any type of condyloma is again as external piles. Polyp also we can understood under the heading of Arsha, and any growth in this area of 4.5 finger area, again it will be termed as Arsha. Because there is a nasas, as growth in the nasa, nasarbud is there, Arsha is there. Karnars is there, Karnarbud is there. Talvarbud is there, Galarbud is there, but Kantars is there. So, in the area of anal canal and rectum, any growth will be considered as Ars. There is no terminology other like Arbud available in the literature. So, before going that, we will see what are the Ars types, classification of Ars, because it will give us the clues what to do, when to do, how to do. There are two types of Arsha, Sahaj and Janmotar. Sahaj means it may be hereditary or it may be a congenital. May not be presenting at birth, may present at afterwards. Janmotar, that is where there is a etiological factors, that is known as a Janmotar, that is a doshaja. This all Arsha, I am saying Arsha, it may be polyp, it may be hemorrhoids, it may be external piles, it may be condyloma, anything. It may be of two types, Shushka or Shravi. Shravi means here, not discharge, it is a bleeding, Rakta Shravi. Again, for the line of management, there will be Baddhavit and Vidabhed. That is a process of the condition of the stool. That is a hard stool or solid stool or well-formed stool, or there is a Vidabhed. It means it may be a semi-solid, loose, diarrhea, etc. All Arsh can be classified according to other symptoms, according to dosha symptoms, that is a Vat, Pitta, Kapha, Shonit, Sannipata. So these are the classification we have to remember while treating the patients, while identification and of the types of the Arsha. If we can do it, then we can manage it properly. If we don't know it, then we will treat each and every case of different pathologies of Arsha in same way, and it will do great mistake. So, first we will discuss about the hemorrhoid, which is the most common conditions. According to modern science, that is a modern pathology, it may be of three types: internal, external, or intro-externals, where all two internal and external components are simultaneously present, then it will be termed as internal-external. What is internal? The hemorrhoidal pathology when exists above the dentate line, but just up to the anorectal ring or just above the anorectal which terminates, then it is known as a hemorrhoid, internal hemorrhoid or internal piles. The hemorrhoidal pathology which exists below the dentate line, it termed as external piles. When both exist simultaneously, then it is termed as intro-external. We know everything, so I am not going in details. Just I want to recollect every pathology for the management. Again, hemorrhoid can be classified in two ways. One is primary and accessory. Second is primary and secondary. In some books, secondary piles is given for accessory also. But now we should not utilize the secondary hemorrhoids for the accessory piles. So when the hemorrhoids occur at primary site, that is a left lateral, right posterior and right anterior, it should be termed as a primary hemorrhoids. When they lie down in between this primary site, then it should be termed as accessory hemorrhoids. Accessory hemorrhoids are always small in size. It can occur after any surgical procedures of the primary hemorrhoids, but symptoms will be the similar. So patient may say it recurred again, but it is not recurred. It is a newly developed accessory piles. What is secondary hemorrhoids? Secondary hemorrhoids are hemorrhoids which occurs due to some primary pathologies of the GI tract. Then it is termed as secondary hemorrhoids. Secondary hemorrhoids may take place due to the carcinoma of the sigmoid colon, carcinoma of the colon, inflammatory bowel disease, IB, that is termed as IBD or IBS, any straining procedure or anything else which be termed as a secondary hemorrhoids. We should always diagnose whether these are the primary hemorrhoids or secondary hemorrhoids. If we don't take history, we will jump on the diagnosis, we will do surgery, maybe simultaneously there will be a hidden malignancy in the rectum or sigmoid colon, and there will be some hazards later on, immediately or later on. So keep in mind that there are secondary hemorrhoids. So while doing investigations or taking history, you can have some clue that these are the primary hemorrhoids or secondary hemorrhoids. Today, almost we will discuss regarding the primary hemorrhoids. All primary hemorrhoids or internal piles are of 4 stages. Means there are 2 symptoms. One is bleeding and secondary is protrusion. Bleeding may not be present in each and every stage, but there will be a history of bleeding. Maybe a history of years together. A patient may have a bleeding before 20 years, before 30 years. Later on, he may have stopped bleeding. Then growth or pile mass may enlarge. It may turn to 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 4th degree. We know it. I am not going in detail. So what should be the management? So we should know which are the managements. According to Ayurveda, this is the line of management. Aushad Chikitsa, it may be of Anta or Bahiparimarjan. Kshar Karma, Kshar Patan, that is a Bahiparimarjan Chikitsa. Any Shastra Karma is again Bahiparimarjan. So Aushad Chikitsa, Bahiparimarjan is where we don't use Kshar Karma, Agni Karma, Chedan or etc. That type of Bahiparimarjan, I say it is a Aushad Bahiparimarjan Chikitsa. That is a Avga Swed, etc. Agni Karma, Chedan Karma, yani Shastra Karma, also is a Chedya Vyadhi. So this is a main principle. How you will take out Arsha, it is important. Not the procedure is important, but you have to take it out. It may be by Chedan plain, it may be by Chedan and Agni Karma, it may be by Kshar Sutra Bandhan. Or in some cases, for temporary relief, Rakta Moksha is also advised. So this is the Ayurvedic line of management. I am not going to go in details because different lectures are arranged here. We have heard day before yesterday, the procedures by Ravi Shankar ji on Kshar Karma and some part of Agni Karma. So I am not going in details. Let us have a modern treatment line of treatment or a practical line of treatment of different stages of ERS. First, internal hemorrhoids. There is a first degree. It may be a conservative. Choice of treatment will be sclerotherapy or IRC. Preferably, I choose conservative treatment because it gives the similar results with sclerotherapy and IRC, but we cannot earn a lot just like sclerotherapy or IRC. It is my personal choice that I use conservative line of treatment because it gives a good number of patients to you. Because we treat conservatively, patient has relief, they will give our address, our name to other patients. Many patients will come, and those who are benefited with surgery, we will advise it, we will give them surgery, there will be again good result, again they will make propaganda for us. So for first degree hemorrhoids, I use conservative line of treatment unless patient wants sclerotherapy or etc. Otherwise I don't go. Second thing, all surgical procedures have some complications. If sclerotherapy, if there is an abscess, intersphincteric, there will be a huge second complications. You have to treat it surgically. Your name will be not good. So it is better to give a painless, a low cost management to the patient. So I prefer conservative line of treatment. What are the principles I use it? Where to use? Tatra veshaja sadhyanam arsusam adrushyanam cha veshajam bhavati. It means for hemorrhoids it is adrushya. If it is not coming out, patient is not noticed. If you do proctoscopy, there are no large pile masses, then go for medical treatment. I have seen that patient may have a complete relief for years together. At least I have seen a patient having not symptoms for 7 years. Many patients. Up to 7 years, they will be symptom free. Second, when you should use it, achir kala jatani alpa dosha lingopadravani veshaja sadhyani. See, if patient is having adrushya ars, but second line is not fulfilling it, then you should not go for the conservative line of treatment for a longer duration. It means achir kala jatani. If patient has bleeding more than 1 year, repeatedly, then you should not advise the conservative treatment, you should advise the surgical treatment. Alpa dosha lingopadravani. If patient has many upadrav means like constipation, many upadrav like heavy bleeding and anemia, etc., infection, inflammatory process, too much pain, all are considered as a bahudosha linga upadrava. So when there is that, don't go for that. Even Charak has advised some surgery in this type of patients. Now explain the patient. The Veshaja Sadheshu Adrusheshu Arsasu Yogan Yapanartham. This is not my sentence. This is by Shusrut and Charak both. So don't tell, I will cure the patients. All medicines are Yapanartham. So you have to advise medicines as well as Pathya, etc. So patient may not have any symptoms if he is following this. So this is the Ayurvedic line of concept. I strictly follow this, and I have got all good results since long. So what will be the principles? Pravruta raktani, heavy bleeding, rakta pitta vidhanena, binna purishani, atisara vidhanena, baddha varchansi, snehapana vidhanena, udavarta vidhane. I use these principles for all ERS, not only hemorrhoids. All ERS, it may be a fissure, it may be anything else, everything should be treated like that. And second line of treatment is Vidva Vibandhan, Anulomanaya Yan Marutasya, Agni Balaya Yatcha. These three line of treatment should be there. If patient has hard stool, Baddha Varchansi, we have to treat Vibandha, that is Udavarta Vidhanena, Anulomana of Maruta, Anuloman for Maruta, and Agni Vruddhi. If we can treat like that, then there will be a great relief for years together. Second line of principles is that if it is loose motions, then Arshotisara Grahani Vikaraha Chanyona Nidana Bhuta. Sanne Anale Santi Nasanti Dipte Pavake. So Arsh, Atisar and Grahani, this may coexist. They may be an etiology of each others. So we should treat accordingly. These are the quotations from modern books. A case control study on the risk factors of hemorrhoids by Johnson and Sonberg questions the influence of chronic constipation, but supports diarrhea as a potential risk factor. So in Arsh, we should not always give laxatives, because if they have an inflammatory bowel disease, we will precipitate it more. The tenesmus from diarrhea does cause straining. So Pravahan will cause, that straining will cause hemorrhoids. So we have to treat Pravahan, not we have to give laxatives. Any patients with a combination of diarrhea and hemorrhoids should be viewed with the suspicion, and all attempts should be made to exclude inflammatory bowel disease. Operative intervention in such patients may be fraught with greater complications. So never operate any case of hemorrhoids or fissure who is having any inflammatory bowel disease. Treat the primary disease first, and then secondary disease will be subsided automatically. Because I have seen many patients who have operated by Ayurvedic or modern surgeons having ulcerative colitis or ulcerative proctitis rather, ulcerative proctitis, and patient will have again heavy bleeding and some more complications. So always make differential diagnosis with inflammatory bowel disease while doing any surgical procedure of hemorrhoids. In first degree sclerotherapy is indicated. I do rarely. I don't do it frequently. The benefits is no need of anesthesia. In first degree, it is very useful. Give relief for longer duration. In second degree, it is a palliative treatment. Or in third degree, it is a shorter duration palliative degree. It should not be used in fourth degree hemorrhoids. It stops the bleeding within 2-3 days. So don't say the patient there will be no bleeding from next day. There may be bleeding from the few days, for the few days. But there are minimal complications. So there are minimal complications in expert hands, though they have selected the proper cases. So always think that there will be complications. It is not a painless procedure. Some mild pain will be there for a week. Again, benefit is that it can be given again. But what happens if you start sclerotherapy at your clinic or anything? All patient will ask, I want injection, I don't want to go for surgery. So again, you have to convince that sclerotherapy is useful for this type of cases for a greater duration of the symptom relief. It will not cure, it may have some episodes later on in life. So these are because I cannot take the picture of first degree, I have not given. Here I have given the picture of second degree hemorrhoids and second late degree or third degree hemorrhoids. In one picture, there are 4 hemorrhoids. In another picture, there are 3. Book picture hemorrhoids are there. So what should be the line of treatment in second degree hemorrhoids? Rubber band ligation, it is again my choice. There is a single or 2 hemorrhoids. If all 3 hemorrhoids are there, I don't prefer rubber band ligation. IRC can be done for relief of the symptoms for a few years. Sclerotherapy can be tried, but you have to use 2-3 sittings again and again. Sharpatan, yes, can be done. I have no experience personally, I have not done it any time. Ligation of the pure internal hemorrhoids, yes, because rubber band ligation is a band ligation. In Ayurvedic, surgeons use ligatures to ligate the hemorrhoids. Yes, it can be done. It is a long lasting. We can say it is a management. So benefit of ligation is more than the rubber band ligation. Rubber band ligation can slip out, cannot be lodged on proper site, whereas in ligation, it is a manual procedure directly. We are holding the pile mass, so we can fix it from the base. So recurrence will be practically zero, practically nil if we have done all primary piles simultaneously. So I choose ligation if there are all 3 hemorrhoids in second degree. It will be a long lasting effect. After 20 years, a patient will meet you, sir, I have no problem, they will say you. This is a case where of that fellow, second degree, some late second degree hemorrhoids, I have operated. When you do it under anesthesia, don't use rubber band because patient is under anesthesia, you can transfix it, you can excise it, the pile mass, so there will be. If you are ligating above the dentate line, again, there is no that much pain, it is some dull ache will be there will be no pain. So I choose ligation of the internal hemorrhoids after second, third degree every time. If there are no external component, there is no need of any dissection. Rubber band ligation can be performed. I use it in single piles or double piles, and patient is not fit for anesthesia, or patient don't want any surgery, or patient don't want ligation, then I go for rubber band ligation. It is a OPD procedure, no need of any anesthesia. But in third degree where external components are there, I don't like to do rubber band ligation. I am not going in detailed procedures because it is not my job. Infrared coagulation, IRC, is again a good instrument for first degree hemorrhoids. It can be used in second degree for relief for a few years, but the recurrence will be there. I have given the instruments where heat is transmitted for the coagulation of the superior hemorrhoidal artery, so the congestion will be relieved and symptoms will be relieved. Mostly what happens, patient comes for surgery when there is something prolapse is there or since longer duration. So third degree hemorrhoids without external piles, this should be my choice of management. But I don't do every procedures because results are good with ligation and excision. If we do in local anesthesia or short GA, ligation and excision gives long-lasting results. Rubber band can be tried, but chances of recurrence are more. Lesser hemorrhoidopexy I have tried, but in that my experience, it is not painless. It is a costlier instrument. Per patient cost is again high. So I convince the patient, whether you want to give more money, I will do laser hemorrhoidopexy. I have to take the instrument on rent. I have to pay it, I will do it. Otherwise, I will go for